everyone is starting to bash 8 gigs of VRAM, saying that it's just not enough for 2025 gaming. So today, we're gonna put that theory to the test.
We have two versions of the 5060 Ti here today. We have the 16 gig and the 8 gig version to see, is the difference that noticeable?
Guys, look what Shopify just sent us. It's a plaque for 10,000 orders from PC Bros.
Yeah, that's crazy we were able to get so many orders, but it was easy with today's video sponsor, Shopify.
I love Shopify because they have everything we need, like our website, our point of sale, and our customer database.
So what if I wanted to start selling on Shopify? Do I need to learn how to make a website and start selling and taking payments?
It's literally so easy. You can start with a completely free trial and use the app or PC to upload the items you want to sell. Shopify has a website hoster built in, and that's it. Oh, and the shipping services are also built in. And no need to worry about massive fees being taken out of each sale like other retailers. Shopify has built-in payment processing.
So Shopify does everything for me? I don't have to do anything really?
Yes.
And another added bonus of Shopify is the fact that they have built-in capital and lending, so when we need a little extra cash to buy some PC parts, we can do just that.
You know what? I quit. I'm gonna go start my own side hustle with Shopify. See ya.
So whether you're a small startup or a larger existing operation, Shopify has the tools you need.
Learn more by checking the link down below, and big thanks again to Shopify for sponsoring today's video. Now let's dive into that VRAM debate, shall we? So to do this video, we polled you guys on our YouTube community post to basically ask what games from your all's experience doesn't make sense anymore for a GPU to only have 8 gigs of VRAM, and we got a bunch of different answers we'll show on screen here, but the general consensus is some games like Indiana Jones, Hogwarts Legacy, Alan Wake 2, The Last of Us, more higher-end AAA titles, even Spider-Man 2 is one I would throw out there from my experience, as being games that 8 gigs, especially at higher details, ends up being a problem with these GPUs.
And as a disclaimer, obviously with these GPUs, even when you only have 8 gigs in really any game, you can make it work by changing settings, using things like FrameGen and upscaling, but what we're really here to find out is should manufacturers still only be putting 8 gigs of VRAM on their GPUs in 2025 on?
So the way we're gonna test this theory is as follows. We're gonna start out with some really high-end games which will be used as side-by-side benchmarks so you guys see at home the 5060 Ti 16 gig versus 8 gig in a side-by-side comparison scenario. But also, Jackson and I are gonna be playing some games that we actually play and games that you all actually play that we really think you might not need 16 gigs of VRAM for, and we're gonna do a little Let's Play style where we have some fun, and we'll give our live reactions to the gameplay, see if things feel any different between the 16 gig and 8 gig version, and then come to a general conclusion. Do we think 16 gig cards are what you have to buy nowadays? Or if we really think so, you can still get away with an 8 gig card by lowering settings. Should you buy one of these newer 8 gig cards? Let's dive into some testing and start with the 16 gig 5060 Ti.
Alright guys, so we are testing the 5060 Ti 16 gig in Oblivion Remastered, and then we'll be retesting it with the 8 gig of course. So we're currently running 1440p on our 16 gig card, high settings. We're using some DLSS because we do want to take advantage of some upscaling and whatnot, but we're not doing any FrameGen, balanced DLSS.
We are running some ray tracing on low.
Ray tracing on an Unreal Engine 5 game, it'll definitely stress it. I mean, it's playable. It's like a console experience, you know, back in the day, like 60 FPS, which actually would have been 30. And it looks really good. I mean, I gotta say, with the upscaling, it looks like typical really high graphics Oblivion. Now, I do gotta point out that there is like a $60 to $70 difference between these two cards going from 8 to 16. So that's kind of one thing we're trying to figure out in this video today too, is not only should you just always go 16 because yeah, no duh, it's gonna be better performance. If it's only like 2 or 3 FPS in every game we play, why would you spend an extra 70 bucks, you know?
I'm looking at VRAM currently, so total VRAM usage is the one closest, which is at 8.6 gigs currently, and the one based on application is at 7.1. So within Windows, just using normal things, you're only using like a gig and a half, just running Windows 11. So, and as you can see, as you get in these areas, it's getting higher. So we're up to 8.9, 9 gigs of VRAM being used.
So we're using more than the 8 gig can offer, but it's gonna be interesting to see. Does it really just, does the game become unplayable once we go past 8 on an 8 gig card? Well, we're gonna find out, but we'll do the same thing where we'll walk up that little ridge up to the Oblivion gate. But it's safe to say that it's playable at 1440p, although I will say neither of these cards I'd really consider to be like true 1440p warriors. They're kind of like, hey, if you're cool with some entry-level 1440p, these are decent options.
Yep, so around 59 to 60 FPS with some dips here and there. We'll see what the 5060 Ti 8 gig looks like.
All right, guys, so 8 gigs of VRAM. His first test already ain't looking too good. It's either dumbing it down or just deciding not to pull the full 8 because notice how we're at like 7,200 megabytes, but we're obviously getting significant less performance. It makes me wonder if there's more to this than just the VRAM. Yeah, it does seem like maybe in certain areas, not very playable with you know, only 8 gigs of VRAM. Now, once again, this is with the same settings.
Now, that's what we want to do, show you guys what
how to
we
make it
do
playable.
to make it playable. So we're at 1440p. What would we do here to make it a better experience? Probably just go.
I'd probably go medium settings for one.
Medium settings.
And honestly, this game,
Yeah, and then some frame.
I'd
gen.
probably add some frame gen.
Yeah.
What is it on player? Just
This is just
automatic.
with not even changing the resolution. The easy fix would be drop 1080p, but if we just make the upscaling a little more aggressive, I mean, it just made a night and day difference. Like, we're 90 to 100 FPS. But still hiccups. The VRAM actually went up, though.
It's great. We're not even using like the full GPU's not even always at like 100%. Just it's very interesting. Yeah, we're definitely getting those like those loading in stutters. But yeah, I mean, once again, you can make any game playable with the VRAM allocated. It's just if you're trying to do like higher settings like we were, that was not really a playable experience. I would be lowering.
Just for the fun of it, put it 1080p. I know we can also do a resync, but I think people would want to know, like, can this card even... Is there a problem at 1080p? Which there shouldn't be.
There may be games. Like Oblivion, and I'm willing to bet a lot of the games because you guys voted on these. You guys knew that they used a lot of VRAM, and I guess so did we from some testing. But I do think this could be a common trend with only 8 gigs of VRAM on these AAAs.
Okay, guys, we are now in Indiana Jones, and holy crap. This is one of the games, by the way, we did poll you guys on games that eat up VRAM, and so far, it seems to be the case, at least with the settings we're running, which we'll talk about more when we get to the 8 gig card. Running 1440p, currently running on a high preset, and we also have medium ray tracing enabled, because again, we got this card, but we are running DLSS on balance. We're not shying away from DLSS, because I think DLSS as a feature is still really cool. Frame gen is argumentative. I mean, in this game, I would probably run frame gen if I were using this just to get a little higher FPS, because it is a single player game. But either way, we're gonna run some DLSS, because I think it is a good idea to have. And I mean, we're getting 60 to 70 FPS. I will say it's not incredibly smooth, but we are pretty much maxing out our GPU. I will say in this game, we might actually be even a little CPU bottlenecked, because that's something to mention as well. Even though these are higher end GPUs, they are 60 series GPUs in terms of the higher end price point. I wouldn't pair it with like a 9800X3D to eliminate all bottlenecks. I want to be realistic on what CPU would actually still hold back the GPU a little bit. In this situation, we might actually get held back a little bit, not too bad, by the 7700X, but your mileage may vary, but it's very comfortably 70 to 80 FPS. I'm kind of just making this lap here so we can keep things somewhat consistent. Yeah, the VRAM is the big thing here. Total system is at 14 gigs, and per game it's at 12. Total system, what is happening when that 4 extra gigs of VRAM is just not there? What happens? That's gonna be the biggest thing to question, but yeah, I think pretty comfortably we're looking at 70 FPS. So we're gonna run Indiana Jones on the same settings. I'll try one more time just to make sure, but this happened. Running the same settings, which the settings don't change, it wouldn't launch. So we'll see what we're running right now. So we're on low. Okay, something's wrong here.
Indiana Jones looking different.
Okay, hold up. So we reinstalled NVIDIA drivers just to triple check that there was nothing super crazy going on here. I need to walk this way to keep it consistent, right? These are not the same settings. I can tell you that for fact. This is 1440p on low. Before we were on high. And currently we're getting 60 FPS, which I think is still lower than what we were getting on high, which is around 70. The VRAM is at 7.9. This one actually shows it hitting a ceiling. But whenever you go medium settings, which I'll do one more time, even though it says restart required, it just totally breaks the game. And again, you all can let us down below if you think this is VRAM related. Knowing most of you who are on the VRAM bandwagon, you will say it's VRAM related. But if there is something we're missing, let us know. It just points to VRAM. And if for some reason there is something else going on, we'll know as we continue the test if things get weirder and weirder. But the fact that we got that VRAM warning and now we're back in makes me think it is VRAM related. So let's just go medium just to show you guys what happens. Oh wait, this time
This is what happens.
this time it's actually holding up okay, but it does say restart required. So if I restart again, it's gonna go to purple screen. And you guys have seen enough of that. So there's the difference, guys. Indiana Jones and the VRAM hungry monster.
All right, guys, we just loaded up a fresh save of Doom. This is the new Doom, and we are currently running some 1440p. Now this time we're gonna try no upscaling. So we basically just have everything set to off. And this game has like built-in forced ray tracing, which we found out the hard way because I bought that RX 6700 for a build and the game was pretty bad. So it just goes to show that with newer NVIDIA cards, even though this is definitely considered to be like a lower end card for its time, it still looks better.
Yeah, so we're getting 60 FPS. It's like awkwardly at 60 FPS, dips below every so often, around 57, 58.
In this game, like I
there you go.
highly recommend running upscaling.
Yeah.
I just wanted to try 1 or 2 games without any upscaling just to see.
Yeah, a little variety for you guys.
But yeah, we're not. This game's another one where it's not using a ton of our VRAM. Like it seems like the 8 gig should be enough, but I am curious just to see if, when we max out a card's VRAM, I know the games they should all still be playable, just how much will it actually tank the performance and the latency? I don't know.
Biggest question is like, what is the limit of like when the GPU itself is maxed out versus when it's a VRAM problem?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That'd be the biggest question here. But yeah, you can see across the board, we're at 7 gigs in the game, 8.8 system-wide, which again is still over the amount, but will that cause a difference? I don't know.
So let's make sure we're on the same settings on Doom. But yeah, this is Doom again. And I think we're doomed, guys. Sorry, so yeah, high settings. We still have DLSS.
High settings.
Yeah, no upscaling. High settings, forced ray tracing. It's kind of depressing. I was talking to Matt off camera, and I was like, dude, like, it's weird because everybody agreed that the 4060 Ti, 8 gig and 16, and then the 7600 versus 7600 XT, it wasn't worth it. Everyone was like, oh, why did they make these 16 gig models? This is kind of dumb. Like, they cost too much. And you're not really getting performance gain. I don't know if this is just a new era, if maybe all the games we're testing are just because they are, more recent releases, so maybe they're just not optimized, but we're getting like pretty insane less FPS and everything we're testing. It'll be fun to try like Marvel Rivals, since that game's it's not old, but it's older and it's an esports. But so far, every game we have tested, maybe besides some of the built-ins, have been like significantly worse than 8 gigs.
Yeah, and that's just, I think it's following the trend that people are saying with this. And obviously, again, we'll show you guys what you can do to make it better. But because that's what the biggest thing is going to come down to. It's really running the slightly higher details, which you would expect from a GPU that's $400+. I don't think people are arguing 8 gigs being, well, there are some people arguing that 8 gigs shouldn't exist at all. But I think if the price is right and it's like a $200 card, and you're willing to optimize settings, run DLSS, run some frame gen and things like that on a card like that, then sure, go at it. But it's really when we're in the $400 range where we have a GPU that it's such a big gap, just adding extra VRAM, that it starts to become a problem.
Yeah, I really do think where this card would shine is like maybe 3 to like 350, maybe even like 3 to 325. Like it needs to be 50-60 price basically.
Yeah, and it needs to be probably focused on esports titles, whether or running lower optimized settings like this. Yeah, well, there's Doom. I mean, you all saw the difference. Really don't even need to go over that too much. I mean, it definitely were getting like 50 to 60 before, and now with the frame gen and everything, it is running. I mean, it's running better FPS wise. But yeah, big gap right there. Next game. Okay guys, I've not played this game in a long time, but this is one you all requested, Hogwarts Legacy. We're currently running the following settings. We're at 1440p with DLSS set to quality, uncapped frame rate, and we're on the Ultra preset with medium ray tracing, which I think medium low ray tracing, or whatever the lowest ray tracing is, I feel like it's fair for a 60 series GPU. And flying around here, VRAM wise, this is looking like one that isn't really pulling a lot, at least on these settings. It is getting up there, it's slowly getting up there, but it is not pulling a ton. So we're looking about, we're holding 60 FPS, but we're looking at about 7.8, maybe 8 gigs of VRAM. So this one might be okay. Oh, we just went over 8 a little bit. So I feel like it depends on how much I load in, which obviously this is an open world game, so as you move around, it's going to start loading in a bit more details. Oh, the FPS gets worse down. Oh, wow. Here comes the VRAM. Wow, here comes the VRAM. All right. So I guess on the ground is where we need to be testing things because FPS isn't that great already. About 50 FPS, but it doesn't seem to be VRAM related because obviously we still have a lot of VRAM.
Oh, not 10.
It's just one. This is like this one spot right here. Huh. Okay, so it loads in for me. I guess the goal will be to recreate this. We'll try to start from like right here and just walk around this area, and you guys can get a bit of a comparison on what's going on here. And the FPS is just so all over the place. This is probably one where I would run either a more aggressive DLSS, even on the 16 gig model, I'd run a more aggressive DLSS or lower those details from Ultra. Because I feel like most games when you're running Ultra, it doesn't make that big of a difference and normally ends up impacting your performance that much. So I'd probably go to high.
When even then, there's a reason why cards like the 5080 and 5090 exist.
Yeah, so. Okay, so 50 FPS, so say 50 to 60 FPS running around this circle. VRAM's getting up to as high as 11, total usage 9 in this game. And then, it dips into the 40s every so often. So let's see what happens with the 8 gig card. Will things just crumble? Let's see. I will say, if we did continue the test like we did before, we were just hovering around the sky, the FPS seems very similar. Now I have to see when we go down to this garden, like I mentioned before, will things just tank? Let's find out, shall we? That's what we're here for. Okay, this isn't as bad as other games have been. We're in the 50 range, and we were in the 50s before at times, 40 to 50. I'll say this game seems to be adjusting pretty nicely for some reason. I did notice that with some of the side-by-sides as well. Some games, for whatever reason, that VRAM usage won't max out at 8, and for whatever reason, it will run okay for the time being. I don't know if long-term, if I run around this game, if it'll hold up, but it seems somewhat similar.
When you think about it, this is one of the older AAAs that we're
true.
testing. I don't know, maybe it's just like these new games are just optimizing so much for like 16 gigs of VRAM.
Yeah. This is one that seems to be handling it better than the others. So I give Hogwarts Legacy a bit of credit. But let's move on to another test where we're going to test Marvel Rivals, which will be a game that will be interesting. A more demanding esports title with the 60 gig card and the 8 gig card. Are we gonna notice a difference at all? Honestly, probably not, but you know what? Maybe surprised.
Okay, we are now on the 16 gig card again, playing Rivalius. So esports titles, Marvel Rivals. DLSS balanced, 80% render scale, medium settings. This game does have ray tracing turned on, which you can turn off now, fun fact. And
Good high FPS.
this is one of those ones where, yeah, I don't know if we can really get that VRAM there.
Yeah,
Maybe
unless you
at 4K?
maxed it, but like realistic, we're trying to be realistic here. If you're playing an esports title, you're not running higher details. Like you shouldn't be. You should be running, you're trying to target super high FPS. So really the other games that are more single player focused would be the ones that you would run the higher details. These games you run lower settings. So this is just a test of a more demanding esports title. So you guys can see VRAM usage because yeah, I mean, right now we're well below 8. So I would imagine this would be a game we wouldn't notice the difference.
Death Child! Oh, the Silex ulting. You have to get a kill on this, please. I'm gonna help. I'm gonna help him get a kill. Oh my goodness. Oh, yes. Is that a good? Silex, I helped you get a kill. This is great. This is a good day now. All right, so yeah, 16 gigs. Obviously, we really didn't. I mean, we got close to 8. So we'll see if 8 gigs actually does get us less performance. I think this is the first game that we haven't hit 8.
No.
So it'll be cool to see.
About 160 to 170 FPS average.
Pretty good.
Let's see what the 8 gig can do.
All right, guys, we are playing Marvel Rivals again, and we are currently running DLSS balanced, borderless windowed, 1440p, medium settings. We got that ray tracing kind of turned on a little bit, just like basically the same settings as before. And once again, certain titles is looking about the same, or the games that came out, the games that came out before, you know, the 50 series launch.
Yeah, and this map is different, so again, it's gonna be not perfect. That's what the side-by-side benchmarks are for, but this is a good way to show you guys that if you have realistic expectations for an 8 gig card, and the 8 gig card is priced for those expectations, you'll get the same FPS versus a 60 gig model. The VRAM,
Oh, dude, you're right.
You can't hit. Oh, wait, oh, yeah.
Oh,
Couldn't do that with
that
16.
felt good. Yeah, and esports titles, you don't want 16. It's too many.
It's too heavy.
People don't get that I am benchmarking right now. Okay, I get to be the cool guy.
Might as well be all ogre now.
All right. Well, yeah, the gameplay was absolutely formidable and horrible, but it's safe to say that, I mean, listen, we're only, this is like the one game I feel like we're actually testing that's like an esports title.
Yep.
Everything else is pretty demanding, so it's clear that in some things 8 gigs is still fine, but in some, the extra 16 gigs is really worth it.
All right, guys, we are in Spider-Man 2, the 16 gig card, currently running 1440p. We are using some upscaling here, using the Transformer upscaler, which is the new upscaler that NVIDIA's been running, which actually helps with performance and makes the upscaling look better. On the balance preset, we are running with some ray tracing, and ray tracing on high, and we're at a high preset. So the goal here is to see what kind of VRAM usage we get and FPS. And I will say Spider-Man, normally I would say I'm kind of against running ray tracing in games just because of the performance loss, but Spider-Man is one of those games where the ray tracing makes a pretty big difference to the quality of the game. And I normally always run it no matter what, as long as I'm getting 60 FPS. This is feeling, it's feeling all right. It doesn't feel incredibly smooth. There's definitely some dips here and there, but it is getting solid enough FPS. Let's go ahead and do this over here and see what happens. See if I get killed instantly like I did that one time. I don't know what happened there.
You know, one of my
Wait, hold up.
One of my favorite. They're innocent people, but he has 2 people in him. One of my favorite parts about this card is everything just feels wrong because, like I said, I don't really consider this card like a true like 1440p card, and also I don't consider it like a high settings card. I consider this like an esports, you know, 1440p or lower setting AAA title. So then it's like, oh, the 5070 would be my choice with 12 gigs of VRAM?
Yeah, and it's just like,
So
it's
weird.
just so weird.
It's weird to think about.
And also, it's just pricing too. It's kind of like
it's close to a 5070.
Yeah, it's really crazy. But this is the best way for us to test the actual VRAM situation, considering, you know what, they're exactly the same. The only thing is different is the VRAM.
You need to get that guy standing still, man. He looks menacing.
Okay, they came out from, they were like stuck inside each other. But yeah, it looks like usage, we're hitting about 11 gigs total being used, 9 in this game particularly. So again, here's another game where we will see something. We'll see something. It'd be a difference or no difference. We will see it. And we're maintaining a pretty comfortable 60 to 70 FPS. The real big thing is, and we haven't really tested it ourselves, is just like, and you've probably seen it already with the other side-by-sides, but how we're doing this is we're recording one before the other. What the performance loss is of purely VRAM limitations. Yeah. We'll see. We'll find out. But yeah, I think comfortably 60 FPS with the highs in the 70s is a good number to go with for the 16 gig card. Let's go ahead and switch to the 8 gig card and see, is this unplayable? I haven't done that before. That's kind of sick. That's kind of sick. All right, guys, last game. High settings, DLSS, quality, transformer, robots in disguise, no frame gen, and we have ray tracing set to high. God damn.
It's worse. It's worse.
God. I mean, I say it's crazy. It's just like, this is our first time actively doing this test. It's more or less been, we're a channel, you guys know, we focus a lot on esports titles because most of you guys out there are playing games like CS, Fortnite, and those kind of games. But with the rise of PC gaming, these games that are on console are now coming to PC. And if you want to run at higher details, or just details you think you'd pay for the price you're paying, you're gonna have problems.
Yep, it's starting to seem like the, for most people, I think 16 gig, is going to be worth it.
Yeah.
In most modern cards,
Unless
you're getting a really good deal.
Yeah, unless you're a really good deal. Well, we'll kind of have a general, like, oh God, oh no. Well, oh no, I can't focus. Sorry, guys.
That's a good guy. No, I'm just kidding.
28 FPS, I don't know what I'm doing, dude. Oh my God, what is happening? Oh.
You look at the latency, it's like 50 milliseconds.
No! God dang it, I died. Look how I'm looking at the ground, I see nothing, it skyrockets to 80 FPS. All right, wait, can you... The VRAM's getting into my head. I'm losing VRAM in my brain.
Yeah, you don't have enough.
I'm out of VRAM. Let's just go to... See, I think if we got DLSS on, I have to restart this game to change things, but we'll go low details and I'll leave ray tracing on high. No one in their right mind would do that, but that's what I'm gonna do. Actually, I think I could turn it off without restarting. Leave high and turn ray tracing off. Yeah, it's playable now. It's ray tracing. Ray tracing is one of those things that is starting to become more accepted, actually. Like before, it was definitely a thing that not people thought was worth it. And a game like this, I think it is worth it, but if you had the 8 gig model, you're basically just saying, I don't want to run ray tracing in this game. That's kind of the thing you're making. So if the $70, $80 is worth it for this particular game, sure. That's not to say, as we've seen with other games, that you won't be forced to have ray tracing in other titles. So at that point, like, what are you going to do there? So we're going to run some side-by-side benchmarks, show you guys those. And then from there, we're going to have a general conclusion on what's going on. But you all see the numbers. The numbers are here. The numbers are what they are. Let's run those built-in benchmarks and wrap this video up real quick. Okay guys, well you saw all those benchmarks and I'll be honest with you, those benchmarks probably tell the entire story, but we're not done testing games. We want to give you all some side-by-sides so you guys can see exactly what's going on here between the 16 gig and 8 gig version of the 5060 Ti. First up, Black Myth Wukong, 1440p high settings with DLSS set to 74% and ray tracing set to low. The 5060 Ti 16 gig on an average of 55, a max of 65 and a minimum of 37, with a total VRAM amount used of 6.4 gigabytes, while the 8 gig variant got an average of 53 FPS with a max of 60 and a minimum of 36, with less VRAM being used, 5.5 gigabytes, and the FPS wasn't that different here. I will say the benchmark tool is a bit older than the game itself, and the game itself tends to pull more usage on the GPU and all your resources. So this is just a good way to do an apples to apples comparison, but you know what? This is one example, at least with the benchmark tool, where there's not a major difference. Next up, we did Monster Hunter Wilds at 1440p high settings with DLSS set to quality and ray tracing set to low. The 16 gig card got an average of 69.98 FPS and hitting 12 gigs of VRAM being used, and Monster Hunter Wilds on the 8 gig card was doing just fine for a while, ended up averaging 65.4 FPS, but the very end scene where the guy is walking right before he goes inside the hut to eat and everything, the FPS just tanks. It goes really low, just like we saw in the other games we were already playing, showing the VRAM getting maxed out here. Now, Of course, I had to throw in a esports shooter just because, you know, these are games that if you have an 8 gig card, they run fine, albeit the 8 gig card in this scenario is incredibly expensive. We ran CS2, 1440p low settings, and on the 16 gig card, we got an average of 523.2 FPS with a 1% low of 179.3, and on the 8 gig card, we got an average of 533.6 with a 1% low of 187.5. In this scenario, I chalk it up the margin of error because the 8 gig card actually did better in this test, which I think it was just very random. When we're talking this high of FPS number, I wouldn't think too much into this here. Both cards pretty much equal in this game. And then Cyberpunk at 1440p on the low ray tracing preset with DLSS set to quality. On the 16 gig model, we got 83.94 FPS with a minimum of 74 and a max of 101.13 with a peak of 8.4 gigabytes of VRAM being used. And then on the 8 gig card, we got an average of 83.56 FPS with a minimum of 73.33 and a max of 100.25, which means we really didn't see a major difference in Cyberpunk. So all in all, as you can see, it's back and forth. Older titles tend to be okay with 8 gigs of VRAM and respond better to lowering settings, but these newer cutting-edge AAA titles just do not function properly. They tank really hard, and we're going to talk more about that during the outro. This is kind of an eye-opening test, I'll be perfectly honest with you, for Jackson and I to see this and see how bad it is on newer titles, and we're going to talk more about it and wrap this video up real quick.
So us being the budget bros, seeing 8 gigs finally in quite a few games just suffer really badly was definitely kind of depressing, but the main message that we're still going to give you guys, and you've seen us say this many times, is all about price to performance. If you can pick up the 5060 Ti 8 gig for, let's say, well over $100 cheaper than the 16 gig, it's probably still worth it, especially if you're playing those esports titles mainly, or maybe older AAAs. But if you're a new gamer, you gotta play the latest and greatest, I would not even look at the 8 gig at this point, unless it is just insanely cheaper and you're willing to go down to like 1080p and use some upscaling.
The biggest thing is, and the main argument for people who prefer this and say 8 gig cards don't make sense anymore, is obviously if all the games that we're seeing right now end up being like this in the future, then yeah, 8 gigs is gonna really struggle to play pretty much anything on the market. But if an 8 gig card is slotted in at the $200 or less mark, it is an esports focused GPU, they're still worth it. As you saw in Marvel Rivals, and you would see in Fortnite, CS, and all those other games, it would still work. But the pricing of these 8 gig cards right now is really disappointing, and we'd love to see them go cheaper or just not exist at all at this price point. But we want to hear from you guys. What do you think of 16 versus 8 gigs of VRAM? And if you guys are buying 8 gig cards in 2025, what kind of games are you playing, or are you okay with the performance?
But as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
This is called Benchmark Brain, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
He's out of VRAM. He needs more VRAM. Give him 16.
I'm out of VRAM.
Now, PCBros.tech, we can make this decision a little bit easier for you by just selling you a whole PC that has the VRAM installed, ready to go.
The VRAM is installed and ready to go at PCBros.tech. You can buy gaming PCs at a wide range of different price points, and we'll show you guys what it's capable of doing in the latest titles. You just go to Toasty Bros on checkout. You will save 3% on your next purchase. See you guys.